Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa salli ala Supreme amma ba'd. The topic prior to this was on contentment and how to achieve contentment of the heart, and at the same time not to ask for anybody without any reason, and to save yourself from asking from anybody. Those hadiths concerning the evils of that and harms of that and warnings of that have been discussed. Now, according to that topic here now, this topic further Imam Rahmatullah brought about is that to show that if somebody gives anything without asking anything, or without your efforts, or without begging that somebody gives something, without a thought in your heart, somebody gives anything, and without any greed or without jealousy, and somebody gives something, then you should accept those things there and shouldn't return those things there. So these things will be termed as from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's side, and you should accept it. So the hadith mentioned concerning this topic here now. Here Nabi Karim, it's narrated that Umar radiallahu anhu narrates that Nabi Karim gives a gift to Umar radiallahu anhu, and should tell Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that there are many other people who is more worthy in need of this, what you are giving to me, rather give it to them. So then Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam replied that from wealth, whatever is from category of wealth, and something is given to somebody, then according to that, if he didn't have any hopes for it in his heart, and he never asked for anything with his tongue also, and a person becomes the owner of those things there, then what must do? Then must accept the thing from that thing, and once he can keep it himself and use himself, or he will give sadaqah to anybody else. And the person has asked something, verbally asked something, or he has a feeling in his heart, and someone was giving something, at that time he must not accept those things. As a starting, I want to say that because Abdullah ibn Umar was a very pious person, and his habit was also not to ask anybody anything, but after this hadith from Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever anybody gave him anything without a desire for himself, then he accept it, he should return it. And we all know that Umar radiallahu anhu, when he heard this hadith of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam of contentment and the virtues of contentment, and he also knew the importance of that. So because of that, he had no greed for any wealth. And when Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam presented something to him, he never accepted those things. But he's told that gives someone else who is more in need of it. Otherwise, whatever little I've got by me, I'm happy with whatever little I've got with me, give it to somebody else. In other words, he refused to accept the gift given to him by Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So on the other hand now, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised him now, when must we accept the gift, and on what condition must we accept the gift, and under what condition mustn't accept the gift from anybody. Sometimes it happens that the person has got some feeling in his heart, he got a thought in his heart, in his heart, in his mind, a thought comes, a certain person must give me something, or a thought comes in his mind as if I get something, it will be a benefit to me, or sometimes verbally he asks somebody for something. And sometimes a person doesn't express his need verbally, but he makes his appearance such that people come to understand that this person is in need of something, and the people give him some present, whatever it is. So this is called now ishraf. Although the person has got in his mind, in his heart, something, a thought, and thought that someone has given me something, and it doesn't express that thought verbally, then that is called now ishraf now. So here Nabi Sallallahu said that if you never express your need verbally also, and you don't have the thought in your heart also at the same time, and if somebody gives you something, then you must accept this thing there. But that is from Allah Ta'ala's side, and you become the owner of those things there. And after, if you need it, you utilize it, and if you don't need it, then give it to somebody else. There's nothing wrong in that. Don't return that item in other words, Nabi Sallallahu says. And for that, there are two conditions. One is the person mustn't ask verbally, and second, that he mustn't have any thought of it or any desire in his heart for those things. And whatever you get without your own desire, then that's from Allah Ta'ala's side. Now Hazrat Rahmatullah should also say that if you get something without asking, then don't refuse it. But then afterwards, by asking also, you won't get those things after it. So now those things are ni'mat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah put in somebody's heart, they must share something with you. At that time, they don't refuse that gift of somebody. Yes, but you've got something in your heart, in your mind, you've got something, desire in your heart, someone must give you something, and your mind is always focusing that someone must give you something, whatever way it must give you something, and you make such gestures, for example, or you speak such words where people come to understand you need something, and then they give you something, and that's called ishraf, and that is not correct. We must stay from those type of things. Now, sometimes a person thinks in the heart, in the mind, the thought comes in the mind, that the person must give me something also. And if the person don't give me something, then it feels hurt in the heart. It feels hurt, it feels sad. Then why does this person never give me this thing here? In this instance, when such a situation arises, at that time now to take anything from anybody, that is not correct also. It's not just not to do that. But sometimes what happens, sometimes you got some contact with somebody, you got a friendship with somebody, you got relations with somebody, and the person got a habit always to give you something. He gives you the presents always something now. In such a situation, because he has this habit of giving a present at all time, and now at this time, even if the thought comes to your mind, that thought is because the habit is from long. His habit is to give you something and to share something with you. You share with him something, he shares something with you. So there's nothing wrong in that. That is not called ishraf. At that time, you must accept that give whatever it is. Hazrat Mustakim Songadhwala once explained an incident of Hazrat Khalil Sahab and Hazrat Thanvi Rahmatullah. Said they should go to one province in India called Punjab. They should go to one town and to visit one Nawab Sahab. And Nawab Sahab, his accountant, was an alim, and he had contact with both of them. So you should call them to the house and feed them also and give them some presents also you should give them. So one time Hazrat Sahab asked Hazrat Thanvi Rahmatullah that I want to ask you a question. And I want to solve my doubt within myself. I asked, what's that? We thought that we come to this Nawab Sahab every time, and his accountant, he's got the liking for me also, for you also, and we go to his house and he gave us a present also. So the thought always comes in the mind that he's going to give us some present. So this thought alone isn't called ishraf now. It's nice for us to accept gifts from him or not. So I asked him that, tell me that if the person don't give you anything, will feel hurt about it. He said, I won't feel hurt about it. And Thanvi said this is because just where the thought comes, because his habit of giving every time, that thought only comes to you. So because of that, this will not be called ishraf. Because if you don't give you anything also, you won't feel hurt about it also. And if he gives also, you will accept it. So it shows that whether he gives that gift or don't give a gift, you got no problem. It doesn't hurt you at all. In other words, this will not be called ishraf. So to try to explain here that wherever we go, whatever it is, you mustn't have a doubt in your mind or a greed within yourself. I must get something from me. I must get something from there. Then greed must be in the person. That is not correct. That is called a spiritual sickness in a person, which must try and eliminate that as a spiritual sickness from a person. And to have contentment in the heart is very, very important to have a contentment in the heart. For example, there was one king, and the king, normally kings have something of pride within themselves. This king had one big, very valuable diamond, which was the pride of his kingdom. So while the people were cleaning up, and they saw that the diamond was missing. So they thought the diamond got stolen, whatever it is. So when they told the king that the diamond which is the pride of your kingdom has been lost, has been stolen. So king immediately put his head down low, but he thought for a little while and said, Alhamdulillah. Go look, you must find whatever it is. After a few days when they looked for it, they found it somewhere, and they came back and came the news that they found out the diamond already. Again, look for a little while, found it over his heart, and he said, Alhamdulillah, he said. So these people, they couldn't understand, the workers couldn't understand why he said Alhamdulillah both instances. So they asked him that when the diamond got lost, then he said Alhamdulillah also. The second, and he found that diamond, also said Alhamdulillah. Whereas somebody said lost, you say Inna Lillah, you say, or you get sad about whatever it is. Both instances said Alhamdulillah. What is the secret of that? The king said the first time when he told me that they lost, I took assessment of my heart and see my heart attached to the diamond or not. I thought my heart said it's not attached to the diamond. Whether the diamond is there or not there doesn't concern me at all. because my heart wasn't attached to the diamond, I said, Alhamdulillah, Allah shukr, at least my heart's not attached to the diamond. I don't feel hurt about it. And afterwards, when I found the diamond, again I said on my heart that my heart get enjoyed what by getting the news of the finding of the diamond. My heart didn't feel over enjoyed also. And so it said, Alhamdulillah, Allah shukr, my heart has got contentment with itself. Whether the diamond is there or is not there doesn't affect my contentment of my heart at all. So the contact with wealth must be such that whether wealth is there or not there, we don't have that so much of liking for the wealth. Whether it's there or not there, it doesn't matter. Allah has given us whatever it is, whatever it could use, with now muqaddar will use, whatever not now muqaddar we won't use, whatever it is. Keep that in mind, then there's nothing wrong in that. But when the person is attached to the wealth all the time, and all want to accumulate more and more and more, and don't want to spend his wealth in any way, then that is not correct. There was one incident, there's one person was a very miser, very stingy person he was, and he got married. When he got married, the wife came home now, and he's only cooking dal at home every day. Because in the olden times, the dal was cheaper food to eat, and vegetables were a little bit expensive, meat was more expensive than the vegetable also. So he only cook dal and eat every day. The wife got getting fed up. She said, no, you can eat much in dal, whatever it is. And with the result, her health started dropping also, her weight started dropping also. When she went to visit her family, the brother asked her, what's happening to her? She said, no, everything okay. But she had to ask her, no, it doesn't look right. Then she said, no, but this husband of mine is so stingy that he only eat dal, he don't eat any other food. He's so stingy. So the brother thought, if that's the case, that means make a plan to come out of this stinginess of his. So he gave her one tablet, said, take this tablet, when you cook the dal today, give him this tablet and put tablet into the dal and give it to him. It was a sleeping tablet. So when she went home, she cooked the dal and she gave him the dal to eat with the tablet inside. He fell out of sleep, a deep sleep. Now the brothers went there, two brothers went there now, and what they did, they took out his clothes and put a coffin on him. And took him, put him on dark room, they put him inside. So after a little while, when the sleep was the effect of sleeping pillow got over, he started waking up, eyes opening up. So he thought now he saw the coffin on his body. He thought he's dead. He thought now, and so the dark room. So he thought in the cover he is now. So the two brothers went from inside and started asking the questions. Normally, Farishta asked when they go in the grave, that who is your Rabb also, and what is your religion, and who is Nabi Sallallahu. So he thought I must answer the questions quickly. So answer the questions quickly. After the question, after they asked him the second, he said, the nemat Allah Ta'ala has given you, how should you realize the nemat? What should you eat for the nemat Allah gave you all so much nemat? So I should dal every day. He said, only dal every day, what about the other nemats? He said, no, I eat only dal. So for that now, we could punish you now. So he started hitting him so much he got unconscious. So because we're eating dal every time, it's a punishment for till the Qiyamah for punishment. After he regained his conscience, got unconscious again now, they took him back into the room, they put his clothes again for him, and with him since. After he came reconscious afterwards, the wife asked him, must have been some food, what's happening, what happened? He said, no, don't tell me, don't talk what happened, I can't tell you what happened to me. I said, let me bring the dal, food for you to eat. He said, please don't bring the dal. The punishment of the dal is very severe. It's out of food now. So in that way, it changes habit of stinginess. To get attached with something so much is not so good also. Now interesting instance here, where Hazrat Tanvi Rahmatullahi was like a student to Hazrat Saranpur Rahmatullahi. But here Hazrat Saranpur Rahmatullahi asked Hazrat Tanvi Rahmatullahi to clarify this point to it, the doubt he had within himself. In other words, when the person wants to make a decision on himself, then he don't make a decision on himself, because he'll fall to sometimes. Because nafs will put him on the wrong direction, to give him wrong answers to give him. So in that case, in that situation, to ask somebody else to make a decision for you. So yeah, because the Sadhguru had his doubt within himself, he never made a decision himself, is this Ishraf or not Ishraf. And he asked the Tanvi Rahmatullahi, although he was smaller than him, he was like a student he was, but he asked him for a ruling. He said, no, I gave the ruling, then felt satisfied that Alhamdulillah, my nafs is not included in what we earn from this, accounted of the Nawab Sahab. So it's important to keep our nafs under scrutiny at all times, to see that we don't fault at any time. For example, find a person will say now, that a person woke up later in the morning, yeah, and must his Fajr Namaz also, then he thinks to himself, no, you know what, because I slept late at night, I'm very tired, it's okay, never mind. Now the nurse will tell him, okay, it's never mind because you slept late at night. But if you ask somebody who's a learned person, ask him that, just what happened, I must my Fajr namaz, what will he tell you? That no, Fajr namaz, masjid is very important. Fajr namaz is for us. And even if there's a case, then you must sleep early, don't sleep late. Even if you must have, Tahajjud namaz doesn't matter, but don't must have Fajr namaz. So there the nerves come under control now. Because now the nerves don't deceive you, in other words. So we have something concerning yourself, then don't make your own decision. Ask a mufti, ask a Molana, ask somebody who can help and guide and make a decision, a proper decision for you. Then nerves don't overpower and let make a wrong decision for that. For example, a person wants to go read namaz in a masjid, for example, now. Now he thought, no, it's so dark now, it's late at night also now, we haven't go read namaz, let's read namaz at home. Namaz will get done at home also. Namaz will definitely get done at home also, namaz will get done. First it will counter also. But at the same time, what the shaitan, what the nerves say, the shaitan taught what? That why you won't go so lazy, go late at night, it's cold also, and why you won't go to masjid? Otherwise, namaz is done definitely. But at the same time, you're stopping so much for other sawab now. That every step you take for the masjid, you will get a reward for it. For every step you take, Allah will forgive your son also. Allah will raise your ranks also. All the sawab, you're missing out on all the sawabs. Going to the masjid and right of the masjid, the sawab of the masjid, that you're missing out. The dua you going to go to the masjid, that you must miss out. The time you want to wait for the Jamaat to start, that time Allah will give the sawab of namaz, that you must out on that also. The namaz of Jamaat 27 times, you must out on that also, you must out now. If your Amin coincide with the Amin of the Imam, of the Imam and angels, Allah forgive your sins. So many other benefits, so much you're losing out, although your farz is done, but you're losing out so much, you're losing out already so much now. So it shows that nerves can always deceive you, can put such thoughts in your mind that you lose out. When the namaz is done, but how much you lost out in other words. So you ask some alim or a mufti, the masala, when they tell you the masala, now the nerves will be subjugated to away the masala now, but the result, your nerves won't have any part in your ibadat or obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you won't lose out, in other words. So this is very important for us to understand this partly also. Just try to have contact with ulama, and principle is very important. That's why ulama stress on that also. Then have contact with the ulama, then they'll guide you, they'll help you to tell you what is right and what is wrong. For the result, you won't falter. That's why one alim, he said that it's important that the awam must have a confidence on the ulama. Whatever they want to ask the ulama and do, then they have no problem there. But once the awam got no confidence on the ulama and don't ask them for what they must do, then you'll find that the rot coming into the society will find. Concerning Ishraf nafs also, there's another incident mentioned where Molana Hassan Gilani Rahmatullah mentioned from one kitab called Islam ke Nizam Talim Tarbiyat. It was one the Sheikh there was who was teaching the children, but at the same time he had there was hunger in his home. Nobody even hungers for 1 or 2 times, people can't notice it. But here, because he hungry for quite a few days he was, so while he was teaching, people could see that hunger was on his face. So what our student was well to do, so immediately he took permission from the Ustad, and so let him go and get some food for our Ustad. He took permission and he went away, without telling the Ustad why he's going away. He made some excuse, he went away. And after that, he went home and he brought a lot of food and brought to give to Ustad. The Sheikh saw the food and said, no, this food is not jais for you if you eat. I was asking why. He said, because when he took permission for me to go home, immediately a thought came in my heart that he's going to bring some food for me. So now, because of that, this is called Ishraf now, and I can't eat this food now. It's not jais for me to eat this food. So this student also was a very learned person, is a very intelligent person he was. So what did he do? He went away from there. He went to straight away. After a little while, he went away from the set of the Ustad. Then he came back again now with the food and told us to start now eat the food. Now he didn't have a thought I'm going to come back with the food. So now no Ishraf inside. So the Ustad accepted the food after that. So it shows that a person has got the taqwa within himself. Then Allah Ta'ala gives him that understanding also at the same time how to conduct his life also at the same time. Now this another topic similar to this now is being explained here now, that there are 2 situations how to ask somebody for something. One is to ask verbally for somebody, and one is to make your appearance such, or make such actions you put forward that the person understands that this person is in need of something. So both these situations are very discouraged in the hadith, in the Shariat. Yeah, Imam Nawawi rahmatullah brings one ayah here. He says that فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. After Jummah Namaz, Jummah Namaz, what is the responsibility now? Go into the world, earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and look for your sustenance. Because this ayat is to deal with sustenance, how to go into the earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and look for sustenance. That's why he brought this ayat here for us to understand that once after Jummah Namaz, you must go and look for sustenance, work and earn your livelihood, in other words. So Allah, the Sharia, what I say, it means the Quran's teaching is that now that must work and have earning, in other words, and make a being a profession. Does not respect the way of earning sustenance. Hazrat Zubair ibn Awam narrates that Nabi Karim Sallallahu said that a person who's got a rope with him, and he goes to the jungle with the rope, or go to the mountains with the rope, and passes a bundle of wood from there, and then come to a town and sells the wood. And this saves him from asking for anybody, begging from anybody, and he saves his honor and respect. This is better for him. That a person goes and asks, begging from people, and you don't know, sometimes he will get something or he won't get something from anybody. So to go and ask for somebody, sometimes you will get it, sometimes you won't get also. But to go and work on your own hands and sell something, definitely you're going to get something with it. So do something which is definite, and don't do something and to earn your livelihood with your own hands. There is more respect in it than to go and beg from somebody. So Islam promotes your self-respect also at the same time. That you must work and earn halal earnings and to live a comfortable life. Don't use begging as a profession for you to live. Not and when you're going to ask somebody, you're going to lose your own respect also. Your honor will go also. People won't respect you at all, because you are begging from everybody. But a person who earns his own with his own hands, whatever he earns, then that person will have respect, because it is not a burden on anybody. In other words, Islam don't promote for you to become a burden on somebody else for your livelihood. Try and earn your own livelihood. And here, Nabi Karim Sallallahu explained to us, see this person, he goes to the mountains, in other words, he goes into the jungle, he goes away, and he works hard to collect that wood, and get that whole weight of the wood on his back and bring to a town to sell it now. Imagine how much hard work is this. But no matter how difficult and hard the work can be, but that rosy is halal for it, it will be cutting it. In other words, it's better than begging from somebody. Yeah, and another hadith said, as Abu Hurairah narrates from Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when Nabi Karim says that a person who brings a bundle of wood from the jungle and come and sell it into the town, or sell it to the people, is better than asking from people. And when you ask from people, there's a possibility he might give you, possibility he might not give you also. He might rebuke you also, he might dishonor you also, he might disrespect you also. There's all possibilities there. But you're working with your own hands and you're acquiring your livelihood, there's nothing better than that. Like we mentioned last week, we mentioned also that Sufi Sahab in Dewan, his habit was to go in the mornings, to go to a jungle and should cut all the grass from there, make a bundle of it and come to the town and sell that bundle of grass. Should sell it for 4 annas only. It shouldn't take less, it shouldn't take more than that. And people should run and collect buy the grass from him. And his habit was whoever put hands first on the bundle, he sell it to them. So people should wait for him before when he comes and should take and buy the bundle of grass from him. So one day somebody bought the grass from him and said, I'll give you 1 anna extra. I said, no, only 4 annas. My condition is only 4 annas, not more, not less. So and what do you do with the money also? Should take 1 anna from the use for his own personal use in the house, and 1 anna should take and give to sadaqah to the poor people, and 1 anna should give to his daughters, and 1 anna should keep a savings to keep it. When 1 year go past, then savings come so much then she should make da'wah to all the ulama of that time there and make da'wah for them and feed them. If something he had no time for himself, she tell ulama, here's the money, make your own da'wah into yourself. And the ulama should take part in that da'wah of his. She should wait for his da'wah for 1 year. She should wait for his da'wah. Why? Because the da'wah is because the money was so halal, with own earnings, that when she ever ate the food from the da'wah of his, for months she'll find the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hearts. And the ibadah had a lot of concentration in ibadah also because of that halal earnings of his. One day, a police person, inspector, we saw, he also wanted to buy some grass fodder for his cow. So he saw the suicide coming. He immediately went there and took his stick and hit him and hit the bundle. The bundle fell down on the ground. He said, "I'm selling this bundle of grass or not?" He said, "Yes, I'm selling it." He said, "How much?" I said, 400. He said, "I'll give you 300. He said, "No, my price is only 400. Not more, not less." So he started giving working with the stick and told, "I will give you 300. So he took 300 and went to, what was he do now? The police got authority with him, whatever it is. And this policeman came with his the grass home now. He told his wife, "I've got the grass for 300, I got it now. So cheap it, whatever it is." Other people say for more expensive, whatever it is. So he gave it to the cow to eat, and after a little while the cow started getting sick, and the cow died. When the people came to find out the cow died, they asked him, "Where do you buy this animal?" He said, "I went for the Sufi stuff." "How would you pay for it?" He said, "That's the problem. Why you pay 300? You're supposed to pay 4, you're supposed to pay." His price was 4. So when back came to ask for mafi for him, "Please forgive me." He said, "I told him my price is so much." He gave one Molana back again, said, "Now go." So the halal earnings has got so much of barakat in it. So Islam promotes halal earnings, halal sustenance. Islam promotes. So here you can see here also the person. Nabi Sallallahu said the person goes to the bazaar, go to the jungle and buy and collect wood from there and sell it in the bazaar area. That is better than begging for. Like in the previous hadith was meant the person who was going to beg. On the day of Qiyamah, got little scratches on his face. In other words, the face become disfigured. People come to know this person was a beggar. He shouldn't earn his own livelihood himself. So, in other words, Islam promotes that a person must be productive always. He must be active all the time. He must be productive all the time, and he must become an asset to this community. And Muslim become a liability to the community. That's what Islam promotes. Once you are working and looking after yourself also, and once Allah Ta'ala give you some wealth, then what is the rule for the wealth? What are the rights of the wealth now? The first is you got to look after yourself. You got to look after yourself. Then you must spend on yourself that you don't become a beggar, and nobody think you to be a beggar and start giving you something. Then you got to spend on your wife and children. You got to spend on them. They must all live comfortably. Then you got to spend on your parents. You got to spend on them also. And after that, you got to spend on your relatives who are closer to you, those who inherit from you, especially. You got to look after them. And then other relatives further. Then you got to look after them, see to their needs. Then after that comes your neighbors and other general Muslim public who feel poor, to help them out. Imagine this system of Islam. Everybody got to uphold the system of Islam. You won't find any beggar in Islam. You won't find any relative of yours in a difficult situation, because each one is looking after one another. But because we don't follow the system of Islam, that's why we have this problem in our society. We have, for example, we find the Jews. They say that we work amongst ourselves from manufacturing till the end. We make sure that our money turns in our communities with 3 or 5 times in our community turns, then goes to the other people goes. So they look after themselves in that manner. Whereas we got this of Sharia long time. We got this. We don't practice on our teaching of Sharia. That's why we have problem in our society. We have. So Allah give us understanding to love our Deen and to practice on our Deen, that we can also live a comfortable life and life of respect also. And once that's going to beg from anybody, there's no guarantee that the person is going to give you anything also. He might give you also, and he might rebuke you also. He might use vulgar language also. He might disgrace you also, whatever it is. But the person who works with his own hands, whatever little he gets, and is happy with whatever little he's got, when it gets from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is called respect and self-honor. That is called. He must be happy with whatever Allah gives after that. The narration from Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when Nabi Sallallahu says that Hazrat Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam used to make an effort with his own hands and earn his sustenance. Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam was very to look after himself very well. He would make nigrani, he should assess himself very all the time, take account of himself all the time, how is he preparing, what he is doing. And his habit was, whenever he should go in a bazaar, and he should ask the people, how is Dawood? Couldn't any complaint against him. They also know he's a very good person, he looks after us, because he had the kingdom also, he had everything with him, he had all the happy with him, whatever, because he did everything with justice, he did everything. He had no complaints to anybody. So he was very worried. Nobody's telling me my faults. I must have some faults. Nobody's telling me my faults. So one day he went to town. He found two people who were some new people in town. So he thought, no, these people, they don't know me very well. They might tell me what are my faults. So he made salam with them, met everything. And tell him, Dawood, how is this Dawood? Has he got any faults in him? What is he? How he can tell me anything? So he said, no, Dawood is a very good person. But only one thing, if he can do himself, his beauty will get more. His character will improve more and more. And his integrity amongst people will increase more and more. So he said, what is that now? He said, the thing is, he uses his sustenance from the state coffers, he takes money. Instead of that, he works his own hands and earns something that will beautify him even more, it will beautify him. So immediately thought, no, there's something which I was lacking out. I must do this. And made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, teach me such a thing, teach me such a trade, which I can get my earnings, I can earn and look after myself. Then came to realize that the two people were Farishtas Allah Ta'ala sent down to teach him that. So then, in other words, Allah Ta'ala taught him that whenever steel came in his hands, it became like wax. He could make steel armors, he should make. And sell steel armors, and that was his earnings. He used that money to look after himself. He shouldn't use the state money to look after himself. So it shows how important it is to work with your own hands and not to depend on somebody or parasite on somebody, but to work with your own hands and look after yourself, look after somebody else. At the same time, as mentioned, whatever you sell should sell for a certain amount. From this, one amount was for himself, one amount should make sadaqah to somebody. And that was his way of how to look after himself and help the poor people also. So one is to help the people from state coffers, and one is from his own self to help the people also. So that was a mean of respect, in other words. Here we know Dawood al-Islam was the king of his time, and in his hands he had the whole treasure of the kingdom was in his hand, and he had control over everything. In spite of all that, he shouldn't take his personal allowances from the state coffers. He should work himself, and he should Allah Ta'ala made the steel so soft in his hand that he should make armors with it. And in olden days, to fight with it, armors, to make what small rings to make armor cover the whole body. When you go to fight, then it should think of to save them from that. So they should make that, and should sell that, and that's from there. The armors, the business of armor, how to make armor and look after yourself and go to war, started from Hazrat Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam, in other words. And Abu Hurairah also narrates one hadith said that Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam, he was a carpenter, and whatever you get from the carpentry should live on the income of the carpenter, what you do. So we can see from here that whatever a person needs in his life, and whatever profession the person needs to look after himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, and they taught the people to use that profession to look after themselves and make things easy for them. For example, you need clothing also. Clothing also, Allah taught on the Nabi, I think Hazrat Idris alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah taught me how to sew clothes. So that's where they learned how to make clothes and sew clothes. Then you can see Zakaria Allah taught you how to do carpentry, and then somebody taught how to work with iron, and some how to do farming, and some how to do the treatment and other medicine. So all Al-Anbiya were taught something which they passed over to the people, but the result, all the straight came into society where people benefited from there. And all these things are of benefit for humanity. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with his wisdom, He taught the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam at different times how to do something to make things easy for themselves. And because of that, to find these things came to existence and we live a comfortable life. So it teaches us that we got to sit and think and make and invent such things that make things easy for us. Don't become a parasite on somebody else, or don't become stagnant, in other words. But you must try and see that we do such things that we help the people and for the benefit of the people. For example, there was one person is a robotic scientist. Yeah. So what he did, he invented a drone in such a way that wherever there is calamities come place, and put a drone, the drone pick up live bodies or injured bodies from the rubble. Normally they use dogs to sniff out the bodies. He manufactured that, he designed that drone. So when he designed a drone, the people got very happy that they did something for humanity now. So they took his interview and asked him, how did you come to this situation that you could invent a drone ladders also? So he said, when we were in Baroda, there was a rice place in Baroda. At that time, my father got shaheed at time there. I was a small child, so my mother took me and ran away from there. And we came to Maharashtra. When we came here now, what must we do now? The people supported us, helped us, whatever it is. And slowly my mother put me into a school. And that was the Urdu school. I studied all education in the Urdu school, everything say. Then I went to college, university, whatever I did, everything. And I got it. So in other words, he was not ashamed to say that he was an orphan also. He was not ashamed to say that he had nothing. People supported him. And he was not ashamed to say I studied in the Urdu medium school also. He wasn't. He said that the education is not that. But we have that jazba in you. They must have that courage within yourself. I want to do something that will come to existence. See, that's how I thought I must do something for humanity. That's why I worked myself very hard, and that's why I achieved this thing in my life. Just ask my second question now, what is your next project going to do now? So he said, my next project is now I'm studying the human being's behavior of the mind and the body. Many people got no hands, you see. So how was the hand work? How would it become normal hands? So I'm trying to see how the brain gives signals to the hand, and the hands start working, the fingers start working, give signals to feet, how the feet start working. I'm working on that now. I want to try and invent such a hand that works like a normal person to work. So imagine a person who was an orphan, he didn't have a father, and because of that jazba here, I must try and give something to humanity in what he invented. So it shows that as Muslims, our responsibility is to do something to benefit humanity. We do that, then we are successful, and we did something good for you. So all the Anbiya Islam came down to show us how to do something good for humanity, that told us. So it is as Muslims, we should have this in ourselves, that whatever it is, educate ourselves, and we educate ourselves in all types of fields. At the same time, try and invent such things that becomes the beneficial for humanity afterwards. This week I got somebody told me that in Bihar one boy there was, he's a master in physics. He's a primary school boy, and he's teaching. I don't know, all big students in universities teaching them on physics. That's how do you get it? He said, because I got interest in physics, I studied myself. I studied so many books. All the books, Einstein's books, and all the people's books he studied. I studied on my own. I said all this. This way I achieved something. If I didn't have interest for myself, I shouldn't have achieved this in my life. And those people in India, they call it NEET one exams. They get to narrate that exams, and they can get civil services they can get. So he teach those people. He did coaching for them. He does. In a primary school student. Imagine. So because he had interest in it, he achieved something in life. So when the person has interest in something and puts mind towards it, then he gets something at that level. That definitely gives something. Previously, one Hakim Qari American staff came to our country also. She said there's one person and one boy in Bihar. He came out first in the whole province. He came out first. So I asked him, how do you come out first? What happened? He said, I should study for 16 hours a day. I should study. You see, that hard work of 16 hours brought me to the stage play. You see, and today now he's the chief secretary of this whole state. You know. So when as Muslim, we shouldn't become stagnant, but we become always active, should be proactive and produce results where people can say that Muslims are somebody who give something to humanity, to give something. That's how we should behave. Hazrat Ibrahim radiallahu anhu read also from Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam that any person who eats food or has a sustenance earned with his own hands is nothing better than that. And surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed Hazrat Dawud alayhi salatu wasalam with this gift of earning with his own hands, in other words. So that Allah ta'ala loves people who work with their own hands and earn their own living. That is better than begging from somebody. Like is mentioned in other hadiths, mentioned also, when one person came to Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his hands were very rough and slumped and very hard it was. He was asking, what do you do? Say, I work as a builder, and with the result, with the mud and the wood all the time, my hands became so hard and stuff. Nabi Karim kissed his hands and said, "These hands will take you to Jannah." Otherwise, you are working hard for halal earning only. That Allah loves that person. So it shows how important it is to have a halal earning, and no matter how difficult to undergo, but you get halal earnings, nothing better than that. So in other words, here we understand that a person must earn himself also, and also support someone else with earnings he gets. That mustn't become stingy, mustn't become a greedy person, mustn't become a selfish person. But when Allah has given you something, look after yourself also, and look after somebody else also, look after someone else. So whether earning whatever you earn, whether it can be whether you work for somebody, or whether you do farming, you can do whatever it is, or you become an owner of yourself, of a business, whatever it is, whatever situation it can be, but do something to earn your living, in other words. And that is most likable way in the eyes of Shariat. Instead of begging, and we can begging your profession, rather to earn with your own self whatever little Allah will give in return. Make your needs good, make ends meet in that, whatever Allah has given to you. There's nothing better than that. And Allah will give barakat in there. Many times what happens, we think of excess, and we always want of excess. That's how greed comes into our lives. But in reality, Islam teaches us what? Barakat. Make dua for barakat. And whatever little Allah give you, your needs are being fulfilled, the needs of yours, nothing more successful than you in life. Because whatever little you got, your needs are fulfilled, so you are comfortable, you got no problem, you got respect, you got honor, everything got. But you got excess, and with the excess your needs don't get fulfilled, what's the benefit of that now? So the meaning of barakat also means whatever Allah has given you the ni'mat, all your needs will get fulfilled in that ni'mat what Allah has given to you, then that's called barakat. But Allah will give you something, some ni'mat, needs can't get fulfilled in the ni'mat Allah given to you. Now after you still need somebody's help now, in debts, for example, or you could get begged by somebody, what's the benefit of the excess now? So excess is not a thing which is encouraged in Sharia, but barakat is a thing which is encouraged in Sharia. And barakat comes with halal earnings. With good intentions, barakat comes. For example, a person earns a lot of money, but at the same time, he got a lot of problems also he's got. He's got a lot of losses he's got. He got sicknesses also at the same time. A lot of other things. Not even all the excess money is being used in all the other avenues, and the result is at the end he's not comfortable at all still. But another person earns very little money, and he sleeps on the ground, for example, whatever it is. But he's got a sound sleep also. He's got good health also. He's got no problem. So which is better from the two? A person can understand from there. So barakat is the thing which we go to bring into our lives. Allah Ta'ala gives us topic of understanding and practicing into our lives, that we can understand the meaning of and the mizaj of the Shariat, that we can practice upon it and live a comfortable and respectable life.